not to be controversial, but in terms of touring in Nigeria, the ladies, the women, did they ever
Throw themselves at you?
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
So it's the same anywhere you go.
It's the same everywhere you go.
Right.
You get a little bit of fame, and there's someone that's willing to off-band. It's just like that's just what happens. And then you have to be. And I used to tell all of my artists this, like, you have to keep your eyes on the prize, and realize that is going to happen, but don't let it be a distraction.
Right.
Because the minute you start to make that a part of what you're doing, you get distracted.
Right. Because and I'm not throwing shots at anybody, any other artists, but nowadays maybe with social media, you hear stories, you see pictures, there's a clip, and I'm kind of like, tighten up, because you're not these artists nowadays. You're not the first to tour. You're not the first to go through these things. But I understand,
Yeah. I think maybe unfair to the guys now because there's a lot of social media. The cameras everywhere now. Back then people could be more discreet. So I guess you could do it, like they say, Yoruba ni wonba, like just a little bit, right?
Right.
But these days, even that little bit can get you in trouble.
Yeah.
So understanding that it's even more dangerous now means keep it in your pants, bro.
Have you ever had? Hopefully not, but have you ever had like a fan obsess about you, fan mail, and oh wow,
I still
even now.
There's still people that some of the behavior is a little scary, even because you're like, okay, I know that you like me and everything, and I'm cool with that, and I extend myself and try and I'm just that guy, like I'm just warm, welcome, everybody come inside,
right.
But then there's certain people that you start to worry a little bit, like, yo, how far is this person willing to go with this? Like, okay, you're saying all these things, and so it becomes a bit of a stanny kind of moment where you now have to try and protect yourself, like, so
hopefully it's no stalkers or like nothing like excessive to the point where like a restraining order or
No, nothing like that. I've had to sort of like sometimes tell people off.
That's understandable.
Well, I mean, tell people off is a harsh way to put it, but I had to like just tell them, hey, look, you could be me, so put yourself in my shoes, and take a look at this picture and see what's wrong with it, kind of thing. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Because I mean, we don't hear these things normally. I think the stereotype is that nowadays actually you do see it. You'll see these, they'll do dance challenges and they'll like scream and stuff. But back then, like you said, with no social media, it'll probably still go on, but it just wouldn't be public or announced or anything.
And if I'm being completely honest, fandom, I think, is more extreme now than it was back then.
Okay.
Because it wasn't as big a deal back then. We didn't have Grammys back then. You know what I mean? Like, so it must be a total different experience for a Burner or David or Wiz or Fireboy, Joe Boy or whatever. They must be going through it, in terms of like having stalkers and that kind of stuff. It wasn't that intense.
Did you ever have to incorporate your spirituality or your religion into like, God, please protect me from these fans or these area boys or these cultists or, things like that?
When I was younger, I was very religious, so yes. That was one thing that I always like. I had to pray like before going on stage, when coming on stage, when we're going on the road. And don't forget, I have people's children with me.
That's true. Yeah.
So I have a record label. I've signed all these artists. These are people's kids. I knew all their parents. So I had to protect them. Let me tell you a quick story. So one time, I was with Chitty Bang and Iris. These are my artists at the time. And I was invited to come do a show on an island in Bonny. Right?
Wow.
This is in the South, Niger Delta.
Yeah. And
so we were told that, you guys just have to get to Port Harcourt and there's a chopper that's going to lift you from Port Harcourt to Bonny, right? Which is, I guess, how the executives and VIP people do it. But so we get to Port Harcourt and there is no chopper. And so we're there. I remember it was myself, Iris, Chitty Bang, Two-Face, Blackface, and there was one comedian that was with us. I forget. Was it Bovi? I don't recall. But anyway, it was a comedian with us. So it was just us, right? and our managers and whatnot. We get to Port Harcourt, we wait. And they're like, oh, no. You guys are not going to go by chopper, you're going to go by boat. Oh, there's a big boat. It's a very nice boat. Don't worry. Is it? So we're like, all right. So they drive us to this creek where there's like, you can see like, I experienced the Niger Delta in its worst elements, right?
Wow.
There were the militants. There were the people bunkering. I saw all of it. They took us through that whole experience, right? We saw all of that. You would see like open flames of like crude, and it was just like wild. Anyway, so we get to this creek, and they're like, oh yeah, the boat, and it's like a gunboat, and I'm like, wait, hold on a second, like.
Wow.
I'm thinking to myself, Chitty Bang lives in New Jersey. This is like his first time in Nigeria away from his family. I'm about to take this kid into a boat with militants, because obviously they had guns.
Right.
This gunboat to get to this island. It's already 6:30 in the evening, so I'm starting to think, yo, this is a bad idea.
Yeah.
Maybe we need to go back. So that's like, and then there's Iris, who's half Egyptian, half Nigerian, but she looks more Egyptian than Nigerian. So yellow girl, easy target for kidnapping, right? So they're having the time of their lives, because they're like, oh my god, this is so cool.
Right.
Chidi is like from America. He's like, yo, like I get to see all. So he's having, but in my mind, I am freaking out. So I'm turning to Two-Face and I'm like, yo, bro, and he's like, nah, don't worry, everything's gonna be cool. I'm like, yo, listen, this girl, mama, we can't tell him for Lagos.
Right.
This one, mama, we can't tell him for Atlanta. So anyway, we go through all of that. We get to the island where we do everything. We come back. But those are the kinds of things that I had to deal with, you know, just from the standpoint of being in an environment where, like in America, I can get security detail and feel somewhat insulated. But in Niger, man, it can go, it can go sideways like that. So, yeah.
Wow.
I wouldn't trade those experiences though.
Yeah.
For anything. They were crazy at the time.
Yeah.
But they make for good stories now, I guess.
No, and it's good because, again, like, you know, I would assume that a majority of like popular artists such as you have traveled out through Nigeria and other parts of the country, the world, things like that. But there are stories like this that we don't know. Because I remember going to an artist's concert. I'm not gonna say the name. I waited. And this is maybe going to like maybe 3 a.m. Artists have never
show up.
Yeah. And this is Nigeria. You know, but I've experienced it here in the States, but even in Nigeria too. But these are the things that, you know, you guys have to go through. Right. You know, especially because things are not the way they should be.
That's right.
But okay, so we're gonna divert from that. We're gonna get to your albums and your projects. Do you have, out of your discography, do you have like your favorite album or albums compared to maybe the rest of them? I'm sure they all have a special place.
Yeah, I like the albums for different reasons. Return of the King I like because sonically we hadn't gotten to that level in Nigeria when I made that. Okay. So in terms of like the mix, the sound, like it was very different from what was available.
Right.
I created that when I was in Atlanta, so so that was unique for that reason. And then, but then the content of it, listening back now, I feel like I was in an angry sort of state, like a rebellious state in my life. So a lot of the content was very like angry content. Right. But then the one that I did in my, I guess, brightest state, my happiest state was "Is It Your Money?"
Okay.
Which is the one that had "Is It Your Money" is the one that had feel good music. That had what else is on there? Baby, now you. Like it was just like I was in a much happier state when I made that album. You know, it was also when I had my first daughter. Okay. You know, and you know, spending a lot of time between like Nigeria, London, Yankee, or whatever. So it was just so yeah. That's good. Yeah, Is It Your Money? If
you could, it may be hard, you may not want to, but if you could rank them, what would you say is probably your best work in terms of studio albums or mixtapes or, you know, projects you've done? Because your discography, I've learned, it's not small.
That's what I was about to say. I actually don't think that when I look at my discovery, I don't look at it. I don't think of it in terms of albums.
Okay.
I feel like the consumers, enjoy it in terms of albums, but I feel like it's more about like the era and the other things that I made around that time. So 2009 to 2011, I think is when I made some of the best music, or enjoyed making music the most. This was around the time when I did with Goldie, I did Lagos Party with Banky, I did, I was co-writing everywhere at the time. I did, a lot of collaborations, Sound Sultan, Omami, with the Banj and Native C, and Ike Chuku, and Sauce Kid, and Whiskey. Like, that was a time I feel like I enjoyed, making music the most. The album that I had at the time was the Big Boy album, but I don't even think of like the album itself as the highlight in a sense.
I think that a lot of times us consumers, because we don't know what goes into making these projects, we sometimes, like some of us will say, oh, this is my favorite album, this is my favorite, but like we said, for the artist, it's probably more of like an experience, or more of like a journey. So that's good to hear. That's good to hear. For more DXR media content, follow us on our socials. More content's on the way.